I'd been hiding from my mob family for 3 years when a customer told me, "Your cousin says hi." I kept scanning his items like nothing had happened, like my whole body hadn't just gone numb. The customer was already walking away, just a guy in a baseball cap buying a soda. But those words changed everything. Nobody here knew I had a cousin. Here I was, Stella, and Stella didn't have family. But before that, I was Isabella Torino, who had dozens of cousins. Cousins who were out for blood ever since I testified against them. I forced myself to keep working, bagging groceries for the next customer, an elderly woman buying cat food, but my mind was racing through escape routes and contingency plans I'd made 3 years ago. They'd found me in this tiny Nebraska town where I'd been stupid enough to think I was safe. My manager Greg walked by and asked if I was feeling okay, because apparently I'd been standing there holding a can of soup for 30 seconds without moving. I mumbled something about not enough sleep and continued scanning, but every beep of the register sounded like a countdown to something terrible. 4 more hours left on my shift, and I couldn't leave early without raising questions I didn't want to answer. Every customer who came through my line could be watching me, reporting back to the family about my blonde hair and name tag that said Stella, the man buying a single bottle of water who paid with 100, the woman who kept staring while I counted her change. Were they real customers or scouts sent to confirm it was really me? I thought about running right then, just walking out the door and driving until I hit Canada, but that's what stupid people did, and stupid people ended up in car trunks. The family was patient and methodical, and they'd probably been watching me for weeks before making contact, learning my routines and relationships. They knew about David, the paramedic I'd been dating for 6 months. They knew about my Tuesday night book club and my Saturday morning runs. My hands shook as I handled money, and I kept dropping things, coins scattering across the floor, a jar of sauce shattering in aisle 3. Greg asked if I needed to go home sick, but I said no, because running would make it worse. They knew where I worked now, probably knew where I lived, and panicking would only make me easier to catch. A man came through my line buying zip ties, plastic sheeting, and bleach, and normally that combination would just be someone doing home repairs, but today it made my stomach turn. He smiled at me while I rang him up and said something about the weather, but all I could think about was my cousin Polly, who'd handled problems for the family until he got caught with a body in his trunk. During my break, I hid in the bathroom and tried to think, but my mind kept circling back to what happened to Aunt Marie when she tried to leave the family. They brought her back in a wheelchair, and she never said what they did to her, just sat at family dinners staring at nothing with clouded eyes. That was 20 years ago, and she still couldn't walk, still couldn't speak above a whisper. I splashed cold water on my face and stared at myself in the mirror, at this stranger with badly bleached hair and dark roots showing through. 3 years I'd been Stella. 3 years of lying to everyone about where I came from and why I had no family photos. 3 years of building something normal and quiet and safe, and it was all crumbling because I'd been stupid enough to use my mother's birthday when I created my new identity. 3 more hours of scanning and bagging while pretending my life wasn't collapsing. A customer complained I'd double charged them, and I had to call Greg over to void the transaction, while my face burned with embarrassment and fear. Every minute that passed without something happening made it worse because I knew they were out there, waiting, enjoying my terror. The family liked the waiting almost as much as the violence because fear was a tool they'd perfected over generations. When my shift finally ended, I changed out of my uniform with shaking hands and went to my car, checking the back seat before getting in. No one followed me home, but there was a business card under my windshield wiper that just said Torino Construction, with the Chicago address I recognized as one of the family's legitimate fronts. My apartment building looked normal, but my heart was hammering as I climbed the stairs. The hallway was empty and my door was locked just like I'd left it. But when I walked inside, my cousin Tony was sitting on my couch reading one of my magazines like he belonged there. He looked up and smiled, older and grayer than 3 years ago, but still wearing one of those expensive suits he loved. He said, "Isabella, you look good as a blonde." I grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and said, "Get out." He laughed and stood up, straightening his tie. He said, "The family invested $2 million in legal fees because of your testimony. Uncle Sal's doing 25 to life, cousin Ricky got 15 years, and the feds seized 3 restaurants. You cost us a lot." I said, "I don't have any money." He said, "You think I care? Don't pretend like you don't know how to get your hands dirty when you have to. $2 million plus interest, or everyone in your nice little life finds out who you really are right before they start having accidents." Full story on the channel below.